green, green, green. Oh, but Koa holds it around the outside, and he gets a way better exit. Pushing hard, already 3 wide into turn 1.
A little bit, and a group of Astons just piling up on him, trying to hold everybody off. Push him wide a little bit, but you can't make it stick.
Boonstra is able to hold the inside.
Got a little overlap, but he can't do it.
Ooh, and he just caught it.
Mr. Sir and King are banging doors.
Oh, shoot.
And we're off and away for SRA.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday night stream here at Sim Racing Alliance. We're in, again, Season 6, Division 5, and tonight I am joined by Mr. Damiani. Josh, welcome to our stream.
Hey, how's it going? Pleasure to be here. Great to be back for another Division 5 race.
Hey, it's going to be super fun tonight. We are going to be following, all the entire 5th Division 5 for tonight here at Brands Hatch. The drivers are just kind of getting started a little bit. Silver drivers are getting their qualifying out lap going, and we'll switch that over to that in just a minute. Prior to go into that, we're just going to give you a picture of our track, and for you guys that might not be familiar with the track, but even though most of us are, take a quick look at the track map. As you can see here, we have flown over from Italy over to the United Kingdom, and Brands Hatch, and just about 2.5 mile track, 4 kilometers with 9 turns. A couple of, I'd say probably the trickiest turn here. I was talking to Josh earlier. I'd say the Sheen curve turn number 7, which is a little bit, I'd say not exactly. There's a lot of weight transfer going on, grip loss as you're going through it. If you don't get that right, it can send you right over into the dirt. But we're expecting lap times roughly around about a minute 24-25, maybe a 23. We'll see, that might happen. But yeah, that's going to be our track guide, and let's switch over to our race feed as we are following here Santer, who's just about to get his first qualifying lap started. And I know, Josh, you said you're familiar with a few of the drivers here from Division 5, so you want to go over anybody that you thought might be doing well tonight?
Honestly, it's all over the board. There's a lot of drivers here who can put their weight up at the top of the class on any given night. And really, it's going to come down to who's put in the most practice and who's really come to nail this track. Like you said, we don't really know where that qualifying pace is going to end up. We've got some people who are pushing 23s, which is up around Division 2, Division 1 pace. And we've got some people who are around 24s, 25s. So, I mean, it's, like I said, it's really going to come down to who's put their practice in. Yeah,
and we talked about earlier, I mean, this is actually a very narrow track compared to last week. Misano's got those super, even a couple of 4 wide turns or even straights you can go into. Compared it to Brands Hatch here, if you can fit about 2 cars in there, you're already sketchy a little bit depending on the type of part of the track you're actually going through. So, as you can see, Santer, as we follow him around, he's just about to do it on his lap, but he's not invalidated yet, but he lost a little bit of time on the last sector. We'll see first driver through the line and see what kind of lap times he's going to be running to.
Yeah, and that's the thing we'll notice throughout this race and throughout the qualifying is just a very slight variance in your line will make a very large difference in your lap time. Especially throughout the race as people start to try and go for moves and whatnot and go be too wide where they definitely shouldn't be. We're going to have a lot of groups behind forming, a little bit of Fernando Alonso trains.
We know exactly what that means. So it's going to be interesting right now when the silver drivers are on the track and they got about 10 minutes to get their lap through. And, it's roughly about half of the field. I mean, we have tonight a total of 38 drivers here tonight. And with half of the field, you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, the track is quite full and then you add double the amount, is roughly about 40 drivers. So things can get a little bit crazy, especially the first few laps, where everybody's kind of trying to get maybe a little bit situation awareness of what they are. Hopefully they don't overcook their brakes or tap somebody out, which can cause an entire full mayhem behind them. So, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see. So far, Yates, he's got that pole on a Honda, and he's just put in a 125.895, and Chen roughly the same lap time with just 40 milliseconds behind him. So, but still really early in qualifying. We'll see how everybody gets settled in, and for the 1 hour race afterwards.
Definitely. One driver coming up to the line about to make a pretty decent improvement to a more respectable lap time is Patches O'Houlihan. Up 2.25 seconds on his 129.4 to give him a 27.1. 9th place for now in the silver class, but as you get out there and you start doing your laps, you get yourself into the rhythm that Brands Hatch kind of demands out of you as a driver, and I'm sure it's going to be the best times coming in at the end of these sessions.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, especially getting into grooves, sometimes, drivers might not have enough time to even practice as much as they wanted to, but not to mention the fact that it takes roughly about 3 laps to get your tires warmed up the way you want them to get a real good lap. As like, I don't want to make a mistake at this time because now my tires are good. Hopefully didn't cook them anywhere going into that lap number 3, and that's where you see most of the improvement, like you said. But, interestingly enough, like I said, we have the silver drivers out, but we'll see what the gold drivers are going to be able to come up with afterwards. I know we had a couple of changes leading into round 3 due to a couple of drivers, maybe bumped up in divisions and whatnot, and I believe Cube Master was the leader of the championship for Division 5. Now he's moved up to D4, Division 4, and that has taken, has put Sarver with the lead of the championship at right now. So, and he's one of the go drivers, so we'll see what he's able to come up with once it's his time out on the track.
Definitely, and I'm actually, oh, there it is right here in front of me. Yes, we had Cube Master, Justin Rutledge, and Ethan Marvin say goodbye to Division 5. Those drivers have all moved themselves up to Division 4. I mean, it's a shame that you do lose the two races worth of points, but I mean, you're in a much more competitive field, and you're gonna have a higher quality of racing. We didn't have anybody new join us in Division 5 actually, so no new faces, just a few people we had to say goodbye to.
Yeah, and the way I look at it, every time you get, especially, I would love to get bumped up to a division, like especially go like Division 1. I'd love to have that beside my name. And one thing I always take advantage of if you end up moving up your division is that you always want to learn from somebody that's faster than you. So after you have a long race with them, if you're battling them or watch their qualifying lap, you can go back, check the replay, and say, oh, well, that's why I am losing time here. So you might have been dominating a certain division, but then you go to the next division, you're not necessarily dominating as much, but you know what you can do in order to start getting faster. So, and that's the goal of the whole thing. I've seen a couple of drivers, I believe somebody jumped from Division 4 to Division 2, and that's a huge jump. And so he might not have put in his best qualifying, positioning. The positioning for the divisions, but he's definitely showing that he's able to either put in a lot of practice from the other tracks. So he's got moved up. He's going to be mixed up on the field a little bit more, and he should have some pretty good battles, which is having some fun, which is the whole purpose of it. So.
Exactly. And while we've been talking, we've seen a bunch of super fast lap times come in. Tremling takes the provisional pole position for the silver class with a 124.1. He's out on what looks like an outlap right now as we come towards the end of the silver class's qualifying. They got close to 2 minutes left. He was up, I want to say 2, 3, 4 seconds, or 2/10, my bad,
Yes.
on his last lap. Seemed like he made a mistake, maybe went off into the grass, so I think he's going to push us down into the 23s before we even get out to the golds.
Yes, and right now, just finishing up his qualifying lap, improving his time is Kimball in 15th currently, and as he might have made a little mistake on the Sheen and dropped his Delta. Fortunately went into the negative, but still might be improving just a bit on his NSX, which looks really good. Livery looks really nice with a nice red and gray. Really nice color combination as he's going to cross line. He might have lost that, and he does not improve, so he sticks with that 15th spot, and that would be one more time, actually, one more lap for him to give it a try. He's got 1 minute left. He goes wide on turn 1, though, and ends up cooking his qualifying, and 15th for now, as he will be.
Yeah, that's the brutality of Brands Hatch, man. You come out of a lap, you're like, okay, I got one more try, and turn 1, it's such a critical corner, but just slightly overcooking the last corner coming onto that straightaway, you may not have the tires back by the time you get there, and then, you know, you just go over and Carlos Sainz yourself in the sand a little bit.
You know what? He did a few times that on last season.
Definitely. But I was going to say, a track like this, qualifying is super important for position. I mean, it's great to be up at the front, as in it's hard to overtake, but strong race pace is, I think, more important.
Yeah, once you get into a groove, like you said earlier, you need to... it's a track that once you actually get it and you kind of get into the groove, you can keep the consistent... even going through the Sheen curve, as we see Ruffus trying to improve on his lap time, about a half a second so far. But once you get in that groove, you kind of just get into this mode and you start keep going. And again, unless you're battling somebody, you're trying to... you're just kind of keeping as much focus as you can, especially during that turn 1, as we talked about, as you can... your brake market cannot necessarily very clear. You're looking at the floor for, you know, skid marks. Not exactly the best turn, and plus a very difficult turn to get it correct. So, and now as Ruffus actually moved up to 9th, by the way, he's improved his lap and he's going into the dirt, and we'll see the Go drivers coming out for their lap. So
yeah, we've got a few silvers that are still out there trying. Dan Meyer's teetering, but with where he is on track, I think he's done now. Yep, he's pulling off to the side. He didn't improve. Stuck in 21st. Quite the split for silver class. Over 4 seconds. Much different than with the splits we've been seeing so far this season of 1 to 2, like just over a second for the whole field.
oof, you know, last week in Misano, Division 2, your division was 1 through 27th was basically 1 second, which is absolutely crazy. So
the power of Daihi's data of putting truly close-paced drivers together out on track.
yeah, that couldn't get any closer than that. I mean, you try to fit 27 cars in a second in a lap. I mean, that's how close you'd have millions of cars on top of each other, and that's pretty much what you can ask. And even 4 seconds right here, first to 25th, I believe, and still pretty good. I mean, we'll get in the groove on the race and see what they can come up with. And we're following Sarver now, who's actually, after Q Masters move over to D4, he is your current championship leader. And he's just getting around his first sector, getting his lap started.
I've got my eyes over on Ren Aoki, who's coming out towards Sector 3. He's the front runner of these, if I got my math right, 12 gold drivers out of the 38 drivers that are on track tonight.
So quite a larger split on the silver, huh?
Yeah, there's quite a few who've come out tonight. I wonder if a lot of people have elected to, by force, take Brands Hatch as a drop race.
Oh, I'm not sure that would be the best idea once they see next week's track at Imola with the wet, and they'll rethink that decision, right?
Yeah, I know there's a few drivers who are not looking forward to that in the wet. It's a tough track to begin with, and when you get that much curb demand that you're asking from a car and you're throwing water on them, it's just not a pleasant combo. But yeah, it's always, in my opinion, not a good idea to force yourself to take the drop race by like not showing up to a race. Because I don't know, what if you have a bad race? Something happens.
Something happens, you're not able to make it, and you know you're gonna bite yourself in the back later on. But you know,
exactly.
And sometimes, you know, life gets in the way. You can make it, and you just take it as it is. And You know, like I said, we do these races here at night to have some fun. If you come over here and join us in the evening, and you know, 38 drivers have decided to do that tonight, and hoping they have some fun. They should be battling soon on the track in about roughly about just over 5 minutes left in qualifying, 6 minutes. But Aoki, as I was following him around through the sector 3, he ended up going a little too wide and not invalidated his lap, but has not going to be improving this time around. Now Sarver, who is actually coming up on his McLaren, and should be improving. This time around, he's currently sitting in 17th.
In the background, Ian Byron brings his car up to 8th with a 125.3. The Gold drivers are all over the leaderboards right now.
It is a huge mix. You can see there on your left side of your screen all the whites and silver numbers on in the current standings for qualifying. It's a pretty big mix. So Beverly was the fastest Go driver at the moment, and Katovkar and Swan basically 2 and 3, as Sarver goes a little too wide there on turn 1 and invalidates and decides to sit this one out as his lap is officially invalidated.
Come on, Gold drivers, do something.
Yeah, we
do
have
some hot laps. There we go, Rigatoni.
There we go.
Popping up 5 tenths up on his lap.
And then we did mention before that cars number 141 and 219, they have a pit start. Is that correct? They have not gone out for qualifying yet, and they're both Go drivers.
That is right. Drivers 114, 141, and 219 are all serving pit lane starts this week. 219's also got a 30-second time penalty as well. And drivers 443 and 214 also have some 30-second penalties. So you can't see it, but I'm over here in the booth waving my finger, saying, no, bad. You guys are better than this. We all know it. You guys all know it.
Yeah, they were. You know, Misano was. It could have been hectic. I mean, especially with so many cars on the field, and turn 1, sometimes you end up pushing a little too hard, or you miscalculate your brake marker with somebody around you, and it's unfortunate. It happens at times, and you know, you can only hope to improve and get better. I mean, you take a penalty and just go along with it, and hopefully this race around you don't have any penalties and you still earn some points, and you just move along with it and learn to be better. That's basically the whole process of it. I've been in so many incidents before I cannot count, and a lot of them were my fault, and it's gotten down a lot, but it comes to practice. So everybody at once in a while will get involved in something. So
Exactly.
now we're following currently in 9th place Byron, who is improving his delta a bit as he's coming around the last turn on his very colorful Lexus. Looks really sweet livery, by the way.
Had a really good drive out of that last corner. Picked up almost a full 10th.
He moves up just 1 spot, though. It's a little bit tight up the front. I mean, you know, up to 10th or so, about a second difference between these guys. But Tremblin, still silver driver with that pole, and Beverly with just hundreds of a second behind him. So Beverly's now got a yellow flag, so he's in the pit. Might not have enough time to get out there and improve his time, so he might be on that second spot. But Shabadoo currently in 5th on his Aston Martin, being a pretty good lap so far. Could send him all the way could have sent him all the way to 3rd or 2nd, depending if he keeps that pace. So we'll see that.
Ansem down in 24th is also up 8/10 on their lap. Could bring them up into the thick of things.
I should be moving all the way up to maybe 13th or so with the current pace, but
yeah, right about.
I'm still following Shabadoo as he made a mistake on the sector 3, so that might have effectively killed his lap. He might improve a bit, and maybe take 4th if he's able to get a good exit of the last turn, but I don't think it might be enough. So, yep, he does. He actually takes it by, a 10th of a second. Oh my god, he just sent Katovkar to 5th. and practically the same lap time, but just almost identical times.
The rough drive out of the last corner loses a few tenths, but comes up to 18th position and some.
And some, yes.
125.7. Nobody has cracked the 123s yet.
And not just yet. And goal drivers, close. 24-1, 24-2, but very close. Best sector, by the way, if you talk about sector-wise, Tremlin has the best sector 1, where Shabadoo has the best sector 2, very close to Tremlin's sector 2. And sector 3, actually, Beverly has the best sector. So, you know, depending on your car you have, you might be a little bit better at certain parts of the track. So that's why you vary those sometimes.
No doubt. I had one last night when I was practicing, and my personal best lap time in the session had none of my personal best sectors in it. Explain that one.
You hate to see that.
Explain that one.
You're like, well, I was slightly slower every single time, but I still got the best lap. Hey, it is what it is.
So we see that max wait time come up on the top. Last call for alcohol. Rigatoni, the only driver up on their lap time right now, 5 tenths, is in sector 2. What can he make that colorful Lexus do?
He made a mistake at the end of the last lap. I believe it was him or maybe his teammate as it was falling around, and as he's going to go through the sheen curve here, it's going to be crucial to get some time, but he loses the car a bit, and I guess his time will be, unfortunately, will not be able to make that up. Now, directly behind him, Aoki, by the way, on his McLaren, but they both seem to be roughly the same delta as before, so we'll see how this goes. And he crosses a line, improves, yeah, goes to 20th right on the end, is able to get that through, and Aoki as well still in 16th, so whew, that was an interesting qualifying session, but Tremlin, gotta give it to him with that pole. Silver drivers basically able to stick that 24-182, and Beverly very closely on his both Aston Martins, by the way, on, if you would call it, I can't even think of the name now. First and second. Oh, geez, I can't think of the name. They call on the Formula One all the time. I can't even remember. But first row. Geez, such a simple word. I couldn't think of that one. But
I was like, what is it now?
But here we go, as we're getting ready to get started on the race. Just about 2 minutes left to get started. And before we do this, we're going to pull up the standings. I know it might not be exactly fully current due to a couple drivers moving over 2 different divisions, but I definitely want to pull that up so that we can see that prior. But let's go ahead and move up to a different cam for now. And give it a second here. All right, guys, so let's pull this up. And driver points for now. And again, I did mention, so let's pull this up for here. Alrighty, so again, currently you can see Cube Master with that 172 points. However, he did get moved to Division 4. So that leaves Steven Sarber with the lead with his McLaren 720. He has 165 points. Beverly was 3rd. And that makes, again, Beverly again still on this. Again, he's actually qualified in 2nd, so probably will be, if things stay as planned for Beverly, he should be taking the lead in the championship. That's pending Sarver, who's actually starting 11th, move his ways up the field. So, for team points, again, things will most likely change once this is over with. We had Q Master with Sean Daniels at first with 305 points. Again, Q Master moved over to D4. But right now, we'd say, if you want to talk about team leaders, baseline, ORC team, Quasar, Ren Aoki, and Steven Sarber with that lead in 301 points, but not far behind. Just 2 points, and that could easily change after tonight. Armentario Academy, Lexus Racing, which has got that really cool Lexus livery. We have Byron and Rigatoni with 299, so very close. And then we got a couple other drivers. Again, talk about the rest of the pack. But anyways, moving back to our race screen, we got about 15 seconds to the start of our formation lap. And again, Josh, what do you, again, looking at this current, current lineup, as you can see, Tremlin, I don't remember seeing if he has got a lot of points. I didn't catch him right away, but he's got a pretty good chance of coming out on the lead here and maybe opening up and gaining some pretty good points on the championship.
Definitely. Funny enough, a lot of people think that this track is not Aston friendly, but apparently D5 thinks it is and puts 3 of them in the top 5. I really have other than Trembling, he's honestly, I think he's got a good chance being up at the front. I mean, no incidents can happen in front of you if you're in P1. It's a real Will Buxton-esque quote right there. But Joe Shabadoo and Jitesh Katavkar have my eyes tonight.
Yeah, and they're starting 4th and 5th, so that's going to be not too far ahead. And just like you mentioned, Brand, especially with that turn 1, I mean, and again, if you're leading, you don't have anything to worry about in front of you, because it is, especially when you're cold tires, it can be a little bit tricky to get that going, and you forget. You're like, oh, I've been qualifying like crazy, and all of a sudden you're in the race and it's turn 1, and you just completely forget, and then unfortunately things don't go your way. But again, starting at the first row, you would say it's probably beneficial to be on this track, and hopefully no incidents. We'll keep that knock on wood here on my end, so everything goes okay for all these guys. And again, it is a lockout front row for Aston Martin, so you mentioned it's not necessarily Aston friendly, but well, Tremlin and Beverly surely don't agree with that. So
Definitely, it's really gonna be who can sort themselves out first, and honestly, who remembers to warm their tires on the outlap. I think this is one of the most critical tracks for getting temperature into your tires on the outlap, because you need that grip on that first lap, and if you have it, you can really capitalize on positions.
and if you don't do that, you'll be under full attack by somebody behind you that might have done that, and yeah,
Exactly.
you're in trouble. It's going to take a few laps to get you in the groove, where the person behind might have a little advantage. So getting your brakes seated up a little bit is a smart idea, as we do see Tremlin looks like he's quite familiar with that, getting some heat on the brakes, so he can get basically all the way to turn 2 without, he does have the inside line, which is a good thing here at Brands. So he should have some advantages here. Hopefully everything goes well for him, as we'll switch over to our helicam, as we're about to go green in just a few seconds here. 1 hour race at Brent's. 7:05 in-game race time, I'd say, so it should end around 8 p.m. in-game. And here we go.
Green line, give it all you got.
Alrighty, guys, we are green as he takes the outside line just to defend that from Beverly. Looks like everything goes okay for Trembling, so he is in good business right now.
Little bit of contact in turn 1 from the midfield, but everybody gets through very clean. I see some people coming through late that weren't starting in the pit. I don't know where they were coming from.
Yeah, a couple of yellows showed up here for a second, but looks like everybody's actually been pretty good, other than a couple
I wonder
of pit
if we got
starts.
some slow starts off the green flag.
As
we see one car off.
As I pulled up the larger track map on screen, as you can see here, maybe an incident here or there towards this lower end of the snake we see on the screen, but other than that, it was pretty good. But we do see Tremley Beverly is actually on full attack.
We've got 3 cars off in Sector 1 here. Looked like
looks like
came
Swift
together in turn number 5.
Looks like Filkenstein didn't have such a good time back there, but he is back on track as it is, but hopefully no damage, I would think. Oh, somebody else out there on the field. Looks like Bright has gone straight after the first straight. He's trying to get back on the track now. And he's slowly getting his car back on the track, make sure nobody's around, but he's a little bit far back at this point. Hopefully not major car damage.
Few early incidents, but I mean, c'est la vie for what Brands Hatch can bring to the table. It's been a pretty clean first lap.
This has been pretty good, as we are following here. Again, we do have 2 drivers with that 30-second penalty. I want to remind everybody. car number 443 with that 30-second penalty, and Byron, which is car number 214, they will be serving that once they go for their mandatory pit stop. So they will try to gain as much ground as they possibly can, and then hopefully not drop too far back on the standings.
Definitely.
Now, Trembling holding pretty strong there on number 1. So, holding the lead with Beverly not too far back, as we mentioned. So,
Pit window is open.
Pit window is now open. Going for a 55-minute window this week.
It's something that could be beneficial to some drivers now, that if they want to get that pit out of the way, and maybe some repairs would be something that they can get out of the way as quickly as possible. If you got into an issue, you don't want to be driving your car around with some major damage and cause you to lose speed and, well, pretty much everything at this point. So could be beneficial to a few drivers. We'll see how that turns out.
M. Harold gets together with the grass in Sector 3 and slides himself off. That blind right-hander is, I think, going to be the talking point of this race and all the other divisional races this week.
Yeah, the sheen curve, like, as you come up that hill, there's so much that happens to your car at full speed. I mean, you have a full weight transfer to your front left, and it's already an off-camber sort of turn to begin with. That doesn't help, so you almost float your car up, and then you have to really be careful not to touch any of that dirt. Otherwise, if you touch the dirt, you're pretty much, it's really hard to save your car because there's a wall that can come pretty quickly right in front of you, and then you be really in bad business then. So
definitely the that wall actually caused him to be in a little bit of an unfortunate situation. Brought him right up to the apex and left him no room to get back on track, so he just had to wait for the entire field to pass. But is now in the pits, taking advantage of the early window. I'm interested to see how early our 30-second penalty drivers come in. I thought maybe they'd want to get away from the packs and just go do a little hot lapping.
I mean, if I'm in their place and I have a 30-second penalty I already know I need to take care of, my take would be I'll just take it right away and hope that basically the track is still kind of close together, so you can come out on some free clean air. That's what I would probably do on my own. That's my opinion, but everybody's got their own strategy, so we'll see if they maybe want to pit now or a little bit later. I mean, there is 55 minutes left in this race, so it's going to be a while.
As Chen goes straight on at turn 1 and has a tour of the sand. I wonder how it's feeling today. It's pretty hot out there.
It seems like there quite a few cars have visited that area, so.
Yeah,
no,
I'm gonna try and keep it light. There's gonna be a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and I mean, it's gonna be all over the divisions.
Yeah, and then you can see as I'm following Daniel's currently in 7th now. He is under some pressure from Byron, but he does have that 30-second mandatory stop on his Lexus. But that seems to be kind of where the field split just a bit. So Daniels is roughly about 3 seconds behind from Swan into 6th. So he's holding on a little bit on his own, but not under major attack from Byron.
Are we watching the leaders by chance?
I was keeping an eye on the leaders for a while, but Trembling still with that lead, and Beverly just kind of, brewing a little bit, but Trembling is about to run into a blue flag ahead of him, so that might
Beverly was 3/10 behind Trembling, made a mistake and fell back, and almost immediately caught back up to the back of him.
Yeah,
and right now he's down to 1/10. I wonder if Trembling has overcooked
trouble.
his tires as Beverly gets to look up the inside. We might have a drag race.
And looks like back down a little bit, but Beverly's trying to find a way. He's a man on a mission right now. He is trying to find a way around Trembling. So
he smells blood in the water. He sees mistakes in his window. He's looking to see an Aston Martin in his rear view instead.
And being the car on the lead, you're constantly on the being hunted. It's not the coolest or funnest feeling you can get, as you're leading the entire race and you have this everybody wanting that P1, obviously. So, you know, if you can hold your composure and keep your lines and focus, you can possibly hold on to your position, especially here at Brands Hatch, which is so tough to overtake. We talked about earlier. So.
And just in that little bit of talking, Magenheimer is now right on the back of Beverly. Just a little bit of those two drivers trying to hold each other off has let this Honda right into the battle. At the start of all that, he was almost 1.6 seconds behind.
And, you know, Magenheimer just probably crushed at the moment that he has that 30-second penalty, because he could be battling up here for, you know, for possibly a win. But, you know, anything can happen. Still way too long on this race. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on these guys. But pretty close drive from the top three so far.
Definitely.
Now they are catching up, who I believe is Meyer, and he lets them through. There's a blue flag on the back straight.
This is the smart move and just gets out of the way of everybody.
Now Magenheimer stayed still behind the blue flag. He's hoping to avoid that. He's got to clear them to keep up with Beverly and Trembling for the lead. He gets that blue and looks like he is through as somebody is wide onto the Sheen curve. But woof.
That looks to be the McLaren of Harold again, unfortunately. Not having a great time, and again brings himself down to the apex, but brings himself around the corner. Oh, as Jitesh comes into the same area, almost rear ends him. What happened there?
Looks like he has gone off, but he's dropped quite a few positions. He's down to 11th now. And he's trying to catching up over. Is that Lung ahead of him from what I see? So interesting. And again, we're talking about that Sheen curve. That it claims everybody. At one point, if you cook it a little too hard, you're going to have a problem. So
yeah, it is unforgiving to say the least. It reminds me of Cheetah, just a little bit more, or sorry, a little bit less sausage.
Oh, Cheetah. That is the one deadly turn, as we know. As looks like I was looking at P7 battle, looks like Yates has taken that position away from Byron. They're sort of side by side on the back straight now. As we'll see what happens at the end.
Jordan Kimball spins himself out in Sector 2, ends up in the wall, and by the looks of things, did the return to pits option. Yes, don't know if we're going to see car 418 come back out tonight.
My goodness, that battle for 7 is all over the place, as looks like Byron has gone a little bit wide.
Beverly's in the wall.
In the wall. Oh, no. He has gone. That's what I was talking about. Who is this Aston Martin? Oh, boy. And what happened to him? Let's take a look at the replay.
He went wide at the Sheen curve.
Oh, that one that claims everybody.
Oh. And that's brought him all the way down to 15th.
Ooh, that's a huge drop.
Absolutely heartbreaking. But if I'm trembling, I'm thinking that could be me at any moment.
He is. He's like, oh, excuse me, that could happen to anyone right now. And oh, he's, you know, well, at least he's got a little bit of room to breathe. He's got still a 3-second gap from himself and Magenheimer in second, and then a 7-second gap to Shabadoo in third. So, you know, but Beverly's car looks completely like almost destroyed, and that is not looking good at all. He might have to take his pit on this lap. We'll see. He might be even getting the orange donut. It said you need to pit in for repair. So
yeah, you don't even get the chance or the choice. You need to. You have to.
Oh, that is crushing, though.
I will say the marshals are definitely getting shoulder workouts this weekend.
Oh, we'll see. But again, moving back to that battle for P6 still, we have Byron leading the pack. He's got Lung and Chunk basically within a second of everybody, and then not too far back, Katofkar now in 9th. So this is going to be something to watch for a bit.
Boys, Lung gets a pretty good drive out of the last corner. Close the gap up a little bit. It's just the difference in braking points into turn 1 between the 3 different cars there.
It's immense. You can see the Lexus just... But then again, this is a battle for all different cars. You got a Lexus, a McLaren, an Aston Martin, and a Ferrari. And they're not too far back into the McLaren, but it's all different cars. And currently Byron's Lego Lexus leading the pack. So pretty close racing between these guys so far.
Yep, and he does have that penalty, so I'm sure he's, if not trying to run away from them, I'm sure he's just going to try and make sure that they don't pass him for as long as possible.
And Loon goes a little bit wide onto the turn, but he's able to keep that pace. So he's still okay in the battle as they're going to go for that sheen curve once again. He goes very close, and he's under attack by Chunk. So this is interesting. He goes wide and Chunk on the outside, and it looks like he takes it from him. So Chunk, and since Loong is actually, excuse me, Byron, that was myself. Byron's the one who made the mistakes. He drops, lets the entire train go by. So Loong, Chunk, Katavakar, yes, and now Byron has dropped to 9th. And that was literally in one turn. Little too wide, you know what happens. We talked about this many times already.
And when you open the door, everybody's going to look for a way through because it's hard enough to get somebody to open the door.
Yep, you're inviting him right in, so... No, he's good news for Byron is that, again, he does have that 30-second penalty, but he didn't fall that far back. He's still roughly a little bit, just within a second, took a top car in 8th. So, a little mistake there, but, I mean, his previous lap was like 129. Again, it was a 3-second mistake on that sheen curve. So, now he does have, directly behind him, Rufus, who is a little bit of attack on. Excuse me, actually, that's Rufus is not behind him. That's a blue flag, so he's got a little bit of a room to battle. That's Rufus on your screen, the 2 McLarens in 10th and 11. So we've got a little bit breathing room for Byron, but, still a little mistake can be costly. As he makes the mistake again, it seems, but is able to save it this time around. Not too bad of a mistake back then, but
as the battle for 10th is heating up, Aoki's right on the back of Rufus's bumper. Little McLaren on McLaren violence.
Sure enough, as they go to turn 1, their Armamentario livery under full attack. As Aoki's trying to find his way around. Now, Aoki's teammate, we talked about Sarver, by the way. He's dropped way down to 27th, by the way, so not his best race so far. As Rufus is closing the door on Aoki and still not letting him through, he said, not this time, but goes wide into that turn, and that will leave the door open for Aoki to take that position. So, yep, that's game over for him for now.
A little bit of thank you very much. I do see Steven has pitted, so I wonder if they're running a little bit of different strategy tonight.
Oh, you're right. Yes, the pit has been taken by Steven, so considering that only a few drivers have done that, that's a good thing for him. But Aoki again has taken that as Rufus loses his rear a little bit into the turn, is trying to save the car, and now he's losing another position over to Ansem, who is side by side going to the last turn, and looks like Ansem will go ahead and take that, so he's dropped down to 12.
Oh, a little bit of bobble. It's going to let the McLaren right back in.
Ooh, he's inviting to that turn 1. As they're trying to outbrake each other, and Rufus is not giving that up very easily, but looks like Ansem does finally complete the overtake.
Oh, as he tries to outbrake Ansem and
just
pushes him right through the hairpin.
Ooh, that is something you don't want to see, and we'll see what the stewards will say about that later after the race, but that does sends him on a complete 180, and he's dropped way down to 15th, so... We'll hope to see him back up on the standings, but we'll see.
Now Rufus is amongst another group in front, so they could all start battling and let Ansem right back in. But the rear end damage on the Aston, that downforce is pretty important.
Now he is Rufus is directly behind Brule as he makes a little mistake, goes a little on the too much on the inside, but is able to save it. But now he's actually, if you take a look behind Rufus, now there is a car it's a little bit confusing on my end, but it looks like Ansem, who has dropped way back due to that incident, looks like it's a blue flag.
And Magenheimer goes off at turn 1.
Oof.
Our second place driver is now dropped to 4th place.
And adding that penalty that he has to serve on the pit is not something that you want to deal with. Now, out of all the drivers, by the way, we talk about a number of pit counts and all that. Roughly just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers at pit. The rest have yet to make use of their pit window. Again, we mentioned it was 55-minute long, so he's got about 39 minutes left for that. So a lot of drivers say we'll wait until the last minute type of scenario to pit, and that might be on your benefit if you don't have any damage and you just want to try to get as much clean track as possible, clean air. But on a track that's so small, such as Brands Hatch, you're always going to be seeing somebody ahead of you. Blue flag or not, or battling somebody behind you defending, it's always going to be something you deal with here.
Yep, and if it wasn't for that MFD, I would have no idea who it was. Oh.
It looks like Magenheimer now is dropped down to 5th.
Yeah, giving up a few extra positions. I'm not sure why.
And Daniels has moved up. It could be maybe an incident between the two we didn't necessarily see on time. As oof, and that one car, oh, that was going to be a really bad idea. But it was a blue flag AMG who almost tapped Daniels going into turn 2, but he avoided it. So good for Daniels holding that 4th spot.
That corner is so tough to nail. Even on an empty track, it feels like the braking point moves.
Every single, and again, especially if you have worn tires and be cooked tires from somewhere else on the track, and later down the race, if you're not changing your tires, that every single lap, it's just a very, I'd say, technical track to know where your brake markers are. They're not necessarily what you would normally see in other, like, say, F1 tracks, I like to call them, where there's clearly a defined 100-meter mark sort of thing. You just kind of, okay, this looks like it could be it, maybe not, and, you know, it's not very fun. So once you get the groove going, and don't rely on your brake markers or any signs on the side of the road, like on the side of the track for this particular track, so.
Yep, they will be gone as soon as you see them. As Magenheimer comes into the pits now, serving his penalty and his mandatory pit stop. I'm looking up and down the data here at everybody who has stopped, and I see a lot of people over 30 seconds and a few people bang on 30 seconds. Do we think anybody is going to take tires here this week? I mean, those people are early to have taken tires. I mean, there's almost no benefit, but...
You're right. Yeah, there's quite a few, and there are a couple of very long pit stops that we probably some damage from earlier. But I see a driver, 25th, calling 25th, Ma, on his McLaren. Was a fairly, I'd say, quick pit stop. He's only got 8 seconds in the pit. But also Chen, who's currently on the pit right now. But looks like most drivers maybe are taking tires or from damage or not. But Santer, for instance, has a 10-second pit stop. That's a pretty good time. Anybody else has not yet stopped, so we'll see what happens down the line. Just kind of held on the main feed here on Magenheimer with that 30-second stop, and he's still on the pits. Not sure if he's taking tires or not, but that's a quite long stop. He's already about 1 minute and 12 into the pits, so that is, excuse me, 1 minute and 3 stop as he's finally leaving. 1 minute and 4 stop. Looks like he did take some tires in addition, or maybe some repair due to that mistake. But he's finally out of the pits, but he's coming out what seems to be all the way down in 22nd and 23rd. So that's a huge drop on the standings.
It's a big drop. We do have 38 minutes left, so a lot of time is going to get made up. And I think I could safely say 3/4 of the field has not pitted yet. So I mean, getting your head down and putting in some good consistent laps could end up with quite a few positions. Just some freebies.
And the closest battles on the track right now that we can see, again, Byron, we talked about him earlier, unfortunately with that 30-second penalty, but he does have a Aoki on 7th that he's been having to deal with for the past couple of laps. And it's not fun to see the McLaren for many laps around, and then he's got to deal with a blue flag ahead of him now. So that will give room for Aoki to close in a little bit more. That this is a very slow part of the track, you would say, for the blue flag to let you through. So, but Aoki, when men possessed, trying to get through around Byron, but he's holding that back. So,
yeah, using every inch of the racetrack that he can legally find to try and get a good drive through these corners. Focus is on the exit as the blue flag just kind of comes down to the racing line and doesn't want to give up the position to Byron until they get to the corner.
Looks like they finally made their way around, but Byron finally makes his way through, and so does Aoki. A little bit tricky there to turn 1 with the blue flag, but doesn't look like Aoki lost that much time at all.
Yeah, everybody kind of stayed up to speed, but an interesting way of doing things.
And again, we talked about, and again, Aoki just trying to get his 720 through here. He has a good exit. As it's not this time just yet. And maybe Aoki trying to plan ahead a little bit rather than sending it somewhere that you know he might not be able to stick and gain the position. A scenario like this, normally, what would you do, Josh? I mean, if I know I'm considerably faster than somebody, I might try to take it, undercut him in the pits. That's just something I would think about doing, but
I completely agree. That's 90% of the time the way I like to do things. The tough part is where we're racing. Brands Hatch, it's really hard to tell if you're going to come out and clean enough air to be able to undercut somebody. So it might just be better to, if you're confident in your own skills, just stick on their bumper and just kind of push them into a mistake. You know what I mean?
As we were
Or
just
let
talking
them
about,
blink first.
Byron did go to the pits, by the way, so it's almost like as if he let Aoki through, so he's into the pits serving that 30-second penalty. And as Aoki was trying to go around one of the blue flags on the AMG, end up tapping him as the AMG goes very wide into the turn. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that AMG, but doesn't look like any major damage to that McLaren at the moment. But the AMG is almost battling for position here on the back straight. Sure, Aoki is very not too happy about that, but he does hold that 6th spot at the moment. So
Elsewhere, T-Swan has caught up to Shabadoo for P2 as we come towards the pit window here. And as I say that, Swan dives into the pits looking for that undercut maneuver. So that gap was about 0.6. We'll see where it is when Shabadoo comes out, because I think that's going to be our closest fight to the lead unless Trembling makes a mistake. He's 9 seconds clear of 2nd place.
Yeah.
Rufus throws a yellow flag.
he does go out wide, but then again, just like you said, Shabadoo currently with that 2nd spot. Now it looks like Daniels is in 3rd and at a pretty good gap in between them, but it looks like Swan has dropped down. Excuse me, that's right. He went to take care of his pit stop. Now Swan's stop was only 7 seconds, so that's a pretty good stop. I'd say pretty quick. I'd say compared to everybody else who has had their stop so far, that is what I believe to be the fastest stop on tonight's race so far. So.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of damage there, or a little bit of extra fuel, but fastest on the board is the fastest on the board.
Now, Swan, by the way, he came out right behind Brule. So Brule now has to deal with that Ferrari behind him. However, Brule has not yet has his stop, so things considered, he should be actually temporarily, he's temporarily in P7, but will be a P2, as looks like he goes wide a bit. Brule back on the track. He also, Swan makes his way through back in 7th. Brule drops to 10th.
And Swan in that pit stop, total time from line to line was 30 seconds. So judging by that very quickly.
Oh, Holyhan has a pretty good stop as well, 31. But everybody else, you look at their pit stops, those are the 2 fastest pits.
Yeah, it looks like he's got about 6 seconds to make up to be at the same place as Shabadoo. Not sure how that happened out.
Now, did I mention that Swan's livery with that Haas, it's a pretty good livery, I gotta say. It's a pretty close match to the F Formula 1 counterpart. I'd say it's a like good color combo with the white, red, and black. So
It is a very stylish car.
except that it's a Ferrari. So it's not really a Haas, right? So it's a Haas livery on top of a Ferrari. Except, of course, obviously no Haas cars in GT3, so still make it work.
Close enough. We make it work.
Yeah, that's right. As I'm focusing really quickly, we go back to field a little bit with Sarver currently in 17th. Now, he does have Byron, that's, again, who had that 30-second penalty, getting pretty close to him. Not too far back on his Lego Lexus. Previous lap time for Sarver was actually a 28.7, so maybe a mistake here or there. And Byron throws in a 26.7, so a good 2-second gain just on that lap alone. And Sarver is probably not too happy about maybe making that mistake, as he gave room for Byron to possibly attempt an overtake in a lap or two here.
Ansem and Roberts jump on into the pits. Field's pretty spread out at this point. I think there's going to be a lot of battles becoming alive as the rest of these pit stops shake out. Rigatoni closing up on the back of Swan.
And that battle for 6th, and I'm still following a little bit of that battle for 16th with Sarver and Byron, but Sarver's still holding on strong on that position. Let's switch over to Swan for a bit, and it's funny enough, the 2 Lexus are on a chase as I switch. Basically, Swan battle for 6th, Rigatoni on the Lexus, and then when I switch back over to Sarver, that's Byron on his Lexus trying to take. So they're both Lexus trying to gain some ground here. So, and Byron very close to Sarver as they go into Sector 2 here on the back straight, but not close enough to attempt an overtake.
Coming up on a big group of cars here. Trying to pick out who that is.
Gilchrist in 19th with quite a bit of traffic. It's not traffic, but battle behind him with Meyer and Rogers not too far back. And just so give you a quick update on, as we did see Beverly, who was doing so well earlier in the race, all that, the mistake and all that has dropped into 26th spot. So such bad luck. We had such a good race, and he happens. We all know he does, especially when having such a great race here and there. But
It's
As
very unfortunate.
Gilchrist loses that spot over to Meyer, by the way.
One thing Beverly can hold, though, is he currently still has the fastest lap of the race.
He does, with a 25, almost a 20, the 25.040. Let's take a quick look at the replay as we did see Meyer take the position over for Gilchrist. Now Gilchrist is out. He has made a mistake as it looks like a yellow flag. And guess where? We talked about this turn. That is has been claiming a lot of cars. The Sheen curve. It's probably the toughest turn in the track to get it correct on a consistent basis. So he has dropped him down all the way to 27th.
That is Brands Hatch in a nutshell, folks.
And quite a few drivers have yet to pit. Say about, again, Trembling holding on strong with that lead, by the way. Let's take a quick lap with our current leader, as he's as pretty much so far this entire race looks like he's been, I'd say, flawless. I'm not gonna take anything away from him here. He's built up that lead, and he's got a basically a 11-second gap to Shabadoo in second, and then Daniels was at third, has got 5-second gap to Shabadoo. So, or excuse me, actually 16 seconds to the second place. So Tremlin and Shabadoo, it looks like they're kind of a little bit hot lapping, I'd say, a little bit around so far, both of them. But we'll see what happens. Still 26 minutes left in tonight's race.
Yep, Trembling with a pretty commanding lead right now, and Shabadoo with one on Daniels himself. I wonder how late they are going to push their pit stop.
I'd say about 5 minutes left in the race.
Better make sure you cross the line in time.
Yeah, you don't want to make that mistake. I've seen that happen where maybe something happens, you run out of time to get into the pit, and then you got yourself a disqualification. You don't want that to happen, or a major time penalty, you would say.
Exactly.
By the way, Swan currently on that 6th spot. He's fending off Rigatoni in 7th. However, Rigatoni has yet to pit, and Swan looking pretty good right now, I'd say, on that Lexus, as he's already pitted. He's only that 6th spot, and pending where everybody ahead of him pits, he might be in pretty good shape, at least for a top 10, I would say, so far.
No, Tony did get into it with the Mercedes we see at the back of the picture, trying to come through this area a lap or two before, so he is dealing with a little bit of front end damage. I think Rigatoni may get past in the near future here.
I will see. He's going to be soon. We'll take a quick look at his lap time as he will cross the line in just a few seconds. We'll see what he is compared to Rigatoni. And Swan crossed the line with a 27.9, and Rigatoni with a 28.4. So at least for this lap, it'll be breathing room. But we'll see if Rigatoni is able to close in that gap a little bit.
Yeah, mistake and an invalidation on the last lap.
Santer has now moved up to the top 10, by the way, as Boissonneau in 12 is in the pits, getting his pit stop out of the way. Quite a few drivers moving up for at least one pit stop. You see Boissonneau dropping a few positions, but getting his pit stop out of the way. Pit window open for another just about 21 minutes. And current standings, I would say, I mean, things can change, but Trembling with that, well, pending he is able to hold to that basically win the race, he should be shooting up on the standings. And we were talking about just earlier, just for everyone's information, unfortunately, Boissonneau might have either not get his pit limiter activate on time, or going a little too fast on entry. He's got a drive-through So that's our first drive through that we've seen. He had a pretty good position in 16th too, so it's unfortunate to see that happen. We always talk about ACC being like a chess game every time you get into the pits. It's like you got to get every single button right to make sure nothing happens. You completely lose your race, and that can happen really quick.
I've never heard that one before, comparing it to a chess game.
I mean, think about it. You got to get your speed down first gear, engage the pit limiter if you have it, even if you have an automatic, you got to make sure at least on first, and you don't. You end up not activating the pit limiter, and then you got to position your car at the exact spot of the stop sign of your pit crew, and then sometimes you end up, obviously we all have done it, cooked a little bit. The pit crew moves your car back and then up or forward up, and you lost like 4 or 5 seconds there. Turn off your engine if you want to gain some time. I mean, it is in a complete, like, they should have a, like, you know, like have those card games in some games that are part of like, oh, this is another game within a game. This is probably considered to be one of them. So
the mini game.
Yeah, the mini ACC pit practice. They should have just a game that's called pit practice, and that's all you do. You get yourself better. I mean, we see a couple of content creators online like Jardier. He changes his camera to a hood cam in order to get the best chance of not having the pit crew and move their car like a whole meter, just to gain that advantage. So I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's an entertaining part of you. You start to kind of get your hands sweaty a little bit, and you're just kind of like, did I get this right or not? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I thank God I got this through. So.
Yeah. The one thing, just talking about the pits, that we're gonna see the variance in pit times that won't really get shown on the data is how fast drivers can come into the pit entry, as we see Ansem and Sarver throw a yellow flag in Sector 2. Sarver seems to make it out okay, but Ansem is not. He's in the sand.
He is
losing a few more positions down to 14th.
Yeah, you're right, and Sarver's still having Byron behind him, by the way. And we're talking about pit. You mentioned earlier, by the way, the fastest pit so far was currently in 11th, Brill, with a 28-second from entry to exit pit, and basically a 6-second pit. That's pretty good. I'd say that's not too bad at all.
That is about as good as you can get, honestly. I don't think you can do it. I mean, 3-4 seconds is like a bang-on splash and dash. So maybe a 26. But the speed coming into that little chicane coming into the pits, during the practice race last night, I've made up 3 seconds on somebody just on like being able to carry a little bit more speed in there, as Sean Daniels spins out from P3.
And Daniels now on his Porsche. And what happened there? Let's back up a little bit and see if we can rewind just a little bit and see what happened.
That is huge for Swan, and there goes. That's an easy position.
He's back on track now, but so that has dropped him all the way to 6th, like you said. And then, by the way, plus and minuses as far as position gain, just to give the viewers a little bit of a up ahead here. But Chung currently in 3rd, and Aoki and 4th have gained 12 positions so far.
Huge.
They started 15th and 16th, and they have moved up all the way to 3rd and 4th. So that is absolutely huge. And another big gainer, by the way, Roberts in 15th has moved up 15 positions. A couple of other drivers have gone positions. Ma and Schultz 18 positions. So and the biggest, unfortunately, loser at the moment, we have Gitish Katavakar has dropped. He started in 5th, but he's dropped 26 positions. So not the best race for him today.
No, and I mean, we're seeing a few people have dropped off. We're down to 33 drivers in the race. This track demands a lot out of you, and whether you're the top of the class, the bottom of the class, it is going to test everything that you have. And I mean, sometimes you don't make it through.
You don't really
Sometimes
have much.
You lose 25 positions.
Yeah, you do. I mean, this is not Monza, as we have a couple of straights, and you can even have a beer while on a straight. This requires you to be on practically on full attention for the most part. I mean, you're pretty much a couple of straights here and there, but you're always on edge. And the one little mistake here, you can go wide. There's the third will just take you in, and you go swimming at the beach, and you're done, unfortunately. So
The only thing that may be beneficial is this track, to me, shares similarities in driving style to Imola. So it may give some people a little bit of head start on practice, although it's wet. I mean, just being cautious and picking your lines right, and being careful with what curbs you do and don't want to use. It'll be good for those going into next week who don't do well this week.
And speaking of Imola, you mentioned wet, and we talk about Imola as one of those tracks front engine cars do so well, and you end up using a lot of the curbs. However, they are going to be quite wet, so it is something you need to practice on and see. Maybe you might be able to get away with a curb here, maybe one or two, but for the most part, curbs and water do not mix well. So we'll see. I mean, here at Brands, we can dry race tonight. So, but like you said, it's similar in, I'd say, as far as track configuration in general. For all, it's a pretty good practice for Imola. So.
Definitely. Lane Yates, one of the last standing front runners, coming in to take his pit stop. Let's take a look at the data here, see how long he's going to stop for.
Still in the pits coming out now, it seems.
9 seconds stationary for 31.
That's say
25 seconds stationary for 48.
Ooh.
My mistake.
So I wonder if he had a couple of
damage,
I'd say. A couple of maybe damage. He comes out in 13th, by the way. And that has, by the way, Sarver now in 10th. He's now in the top 10. He has finally made it to top 10th. But again, having to deal with Byron, who has already served his 30-second penalty, by the way. So he's already been pit. He's already pitted. He's just following Sarver very close to get into the top 10 position. And Sarver is just... No, he's just holding on. He's like, you're gonna have to work your way around me, buddy. So
exactly, he's not gonna let this position go easily. Now, the one thing he does have going against him is Byron is the fastest car in the straight line. That McLaren that Lexus, posts a 241 to Sarver's 239 in the straight line. So. He needs to bank on a gap going into the last corner and a very good exit every single lap.
And then we talk about cars being so different. Front engine X's, you got a mid engine on McLaren. And McLaren's a quick car, by the way. Rufus on a McLaren has a 241 as well. But you know, the Lexus is known to be an absolute beast on a straight line speed. So it might not be the best track for the Lexus here at Brands. As we talk about, some tracks are better for some cars. It's like a Porsche is great here. Well, if you know how to handle a Porsche, you're probably great anywhere. But he has been putting Sarver on check, but Sarver has been quite focused there and not making any mistakes. And it's going to be tough for Byron to find a way around him if, you know, Sarver makes no mistakes. So
exactly. Joe Shabadoo took his pit stop, 8 seconds stopped, brings him down to 3rd place behind Chunk. And I think he'll easily make that position back as they go into the pits. He's not too far ahead of him, 4.2 seconds. Rene Aoki, 3 seconds back. I wonder if he may try and make his presence known before he goes in for a pit stop.
And we talked about earlier that the top 3 were quite spread out. So, we'll see how that turns out later on.
Trembling just 37.5 seconds in front of Chunk.
It's a huge gap, basically from 1st to 3rd here, which they have not yet pit, but...
Yeah, that Trembling could pit, come out, and still be ahead of Chunk, maintain 1st place. That is crazy.
Yeah, he has been on a league on his own here.
What a consistent pace from that Aston Martin.
I mean, he started first, got through turn 1 on first, basically never let that go. So far, has been the home run here. I don't think even after the pits, like you said, he would drop from first. So he's basically leading the entire race. He waits until the pit at the end, about 10 minutes left on the window. And yeah, I mean, he should be taking this home, preventing any major mistakes. Hopefully not. He should be bringing his home on first.
Yeah, this is his race to lose at this point. He's playing with some blue flag cars. As he approaches driver 696 of Patches O'Houlihan. Speaking of, have we given the D5 drivers their dose of the O'Hula cam tonight?
Not yet.
Let's get that beautiful NSX on camera here.
We did a few times. We'll pull him up. Let's see, Mr. O'Houlihan. That looks really
He's had a pretty
good.
good race. He's up eight positions so far. Started 29th in 21st right now.
He had a very good pit stop, by the way, as well, with 8 seconds. I'd say that's a pretty successful stop. He's pit about 26 minutes ago. So no tire changes, obviously. He's just battling around, but just a couple of blue flags around. He's got Swift that he's got basically ahead of him, but he's quite a few cars ahead, a couple of blue flags in between him.
Definitely. The resident bread man himself. Be nice to Patches or he will invoke curses on you, so I have been told.
Well, I do love his livery with that Alton Park touch to it. I do hope to see that coming up on top when it's Alton Park later this season. With that NSX livery, that you should just automatically get a win. I mean, you're coming in with that livery on the track, given the first place.
Exactly. You've got all the credentials. It's like showing up and going, I've already got the trophy. What do you mean I need to race?
Yeah, I mean, look at this, guys. I'm advertising for free. Give me the win. Why not?
Exactly. Exactly. I like your style.
Yeah, you know, he's showing up. He's trying to make that stick. I don't think the race directors and everybody would agree with that. Just so you need to come up with your win. But hey, you can always try.
Trembling blinks. He's into the pits.
Let's keep an eye on Tremlin as he finally has gone into the pit. And that was a pretty good stop.
Chunk just coming into the last corner now, and Trembling already exiting over the line, no penalty. Into quite a bit of traffic. Ooh. He make it through cleanly.
Looks like his teammate next to him, but Chunk, who has not yet stopped, like you said, a few cars behind back there. So he's kept that first spot even after the pit.
Maintained a 6.5 second gap to second place. That's outstanding.
And you can see on the small picture we have on the right where Chunk is and where Tremlin is on the big screen. And yeah, the only difference is that Tremlin has already taken care of his mandatory stop. So, I mean, we'll see where Chunk comes out. I mean, hoping to get at least back in, let's say, a third spot. But, you know, we'll see where that happens. There are quite a few gaps in between everybody. It looks like Shabada will get that second spot back, but Chunk might drop a few spots, and Aoki might take that third. But we'll see. Still two drivers left to pit, which is Aoki. Excuse me. So Aoki has not yet pit to Chunk and Aoki, so that might help out Swan currently in 5th.
Yeah, the last two left standing as we're 9 minutes 20 seconds left in the race. This race is absolutely flown by, but the gap that I'm having an eye on, and it's pretty large right now, is the Swan to Shabadoo gap from earlier on in the race. Swan lost 8 seconds trying to undercut due to traffic.
So that was not a, you know, again, sometimes it doesn't work your way.
Yeah, he did maintain the position, but he lost the opportunity of being able to take the next position. I mean, yeah, you can have a game plan and you can execute everything on your side right, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yes, and by the way, Chunk in the pits with an absolute legend of a pit strat. 5 seconds, 28 entirely on the pit, so he nailed that out of the pits.
Very fast.
Drifting out of turn 1 out of the pits. Good for him, at least. He's actually back on track in 5th. So basically second in silver, by the way, for keep track of the different gold and silvers on track. Trembling with that win. Chunk is second and Center is third on the silver class. And last driver to stop will be Aoki. And he's just about 5 minutes left on that window, so hopefully he's doesn't forget that he does have to pit and completely throw away his race.
Definitely. Swan's just coming up to the back of him now, or well, making his way towards him. I wonder if he's going to try and pit before getting forced into that battle, as Tony's putting in some pretty impressive lap times. A 125.4 was his last lap. That's close to 2 seconds faster than the field.
He's a man on a mission, you say that. And by the way, Aoki still decided not to get into the pit, so the McLaren pit crew still out there waiting for him to bring his 720S in, but he's like, not just yet, guys, not just yet. And Rufus, by the way, an incident on turn.
Big yellow flag.
Right there for 12, and what happened back there?
Oh,
like,
and Shabadoo gets involved in that.
Oh.
Makes contact with Daniels.
Looks like a major issue.
That could prove big.
That is a huge change as we switch the camera back over here.
Aoki now only 2 seconds behind instead of 5.
Oof. So remember, top two, Aoki have yet to pit, but now quite a bit of mix-up here as Shabadoo has already pit, but Aoki will at least gain some ground. But Swan...
Shabadoo clearly has some damage. That car is not looking like it wants to cooperate.
Yeah, he is moving around a bit. It's not looking good. And Aoki right on him. So he's going to try 6 minutes left. He's just going to... Oh, yeah, his hood is coming right up. So, such bad luck.
He's going to give Aoki the position, not even going to bother trying to fight that.
Now
I mean, not worth it. You hit the brakes too hard and understeer, both of you lose.
Yep. He's just going to try to bring it home at the current. It looks like he's able to control the car, though, even though his hood is about to pop out. But
yeah,
if he's able to take it around the track, it's such bad luck.
Tony now just 2 seconds behind Joe.
And with 5 minutes left in the race, we should see Swan coming up and possibly take that position away from him and possibly move up to third. Excuse me, yes, second. Benny Aoki pitting. He's got about two and a half minutes to take care of his pit stop. But we just hate to see that Aston Martin with the Aldi livery banked up on the hood.
It's another testament to the simple liveries are very, very good class.
And soon Shabadoo will be crossing the line and see what his lap times are sort of looking like. And he'll be crossing the line just now, and he goes in with a... Oh, he's way on the 28ths, and Swan puts in a 27, so almost a second and a half on that previous lap. So Swan might be smelling some blood here. He wants that position. You know, he's not backing down from that.
No doubt. And with 4 minutes left, it's going to be a bit of a toss-up between, do I push hard and try and make it happen, or do I just relax and let it come to me? I know I'm going faster.
Oh, you know, Shabadoo just hating himself right now, having to deal with that damage, and Swan just coming in so quickly. And down the back straight here should be a no-brainer, as he did let Aoki through earlier. He has so much damage. But, oh, man.
Now, Aoki hasn't pit. I wonder if that is part of why he let him go as well. But I can see this battle being a little bit more intense. But you can see just how little grip the Aston has in that right-hander. I mean, you really got to load up the left-hand side of the car, and it just does not want to.
Yeah, he's struggling. That's for sure. As we did see a
parked car on the track.
That was extremely close.
Looks like the number 437 Aston of A. Welsh, who's falling down from the mid-20s.
Oh, man. And he was almost sideways from what I saw, a glimpse on my screen.
Swan with a beautiful drive out of the last corner. Aoki does take his pit stop, and Swan looks like he is going to take P2 here into turn 1. Smart move.
I don't think that was worth fighting as much as he knows he's got so much damage, but he's not backing down just yet as he shuts the door on him. Let's take a look at that replay and see how that came out to be as Swan gets a great speed out of last turn. And, you know, Shabadu's not going to let him just give it, hey, you know, here's a position for you. Make him work a little bit. You know, I should be here, he says. So.
The window is now closed.
And Aoki taking that pit right at the last minute. The window is closed. He comes out back in 5th, by the way. Swan is 2nd. Shabadu now in 3rd. So Shabadu has got quite a big gap to Chunk and 4th. So at least he might end up with a podium still, which is good. I don't think Chunk will be able to make up that 20-second gap for that podium fight. So I think he's happy with that.
Something else catastrophic happens here, I think we're looking at our podium.
I think he just wants to bring it home at this point.
Exactly. We got about 2... Where's the leader? Yep, 2 more laps.
And just taking a quick look, by the way, back on P15, Roberts. He does have Boinsono, who had that drive-through earlier, so he would have been further ahead on the field, but he's got that BMW, and he's trying to gain that position, get that 15. Looks like he might actually make it happen as they go close together, and Boinsono actually makes it stick and gains that position from Roberts. Roberts drops to 16th, so good move there for that 15th spot. Just over a minute left in the race, and time has gone by quite quickly here tonight. But looks like Tremolin again. I mean, I wonder if he's already at home at this point and finished the race, enjoying the win. I mean, this is...
Honestly.
He's just already... Poof.
He's got one of those adult soda pop beverages cracked open beside him. He's ready to have a good time.
Yeah, he's got a cup holder on his car, has been just driving one-handed. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. He's in the league on his own tonight.
18.8 seconds clear of 2nd place, and I mean, it's a little bit inflated by the other issues that people had that weren't able to stay up there and compete with them, but still, I mean, the consistent pace is the consistent pace.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically, regardless of he's being P1, the track is so busy with blue flags and all that, and he's been able to navigate around everybody quite well, and that has brought him that result so far. Keep in mind that Beverly, before that incident, he was pretty close to him, probably the closest driver to him. And Beverly does have the fastest lap with a 25.04, and Tremolin's fastest lap is a 25.06. So very close pace, but so far it looks like the fastest lap of the race title will go to Beverly. At least something, it's just a point, but you take anything you can get, so.
Always. Take all the points you can get and put them in the bank. Because you never know how the next race is going to go.
You're right, and Tremolin just about finishing up just mid-sector 3 is coming to bring that win home as we're following him on that nice Aston Martin. Takes the last turn as he's coming around to take that checkered flag. And sure enough, checkered flag for Tremolin takes that win. No major issues.
Victory.
Dominant for sure, as Swan again has benefited from that incident with Shabadu with that incident. So Swan bringing in his Ferrari Haas livery in that 2nd place. So a good race for him. And you got to give some props to Shabadu. Brought his Aston Martin with a half-lifted hood almost into 3rd, into the podium. So give it to him. Got to give some.
And Ren Aoki spins out in Sector 3.
He does.
Loses 5th position.
Oh, man. And now he's got to worry about He does have
Blue
a 13
flags, those are
second,
not
but
positions,
oh,
thankfully. But that could have been the whole race for him unraveling. I mean, absolutely pushing it to the limit, staying up there until the very last minute of the pit window, just to
he's
spin in sector 3.
lucky.
Ooh.
Brule was 13. Well, now 13 seconds behind him now after that mistake, so he's happy that he's able to actually keep that position at least. Could have been a lot worse.
Definitely.
And we have Mr. Lego Lexus himself, Rigatoni, crossing the line in 8th. And Yates not too far back in 9th. And then Sarver bringing him his 720 on that 10th spot. So I'm sure he's happy with that result, considering other things that happened in the race for him. And looks like everybody's just about crossing the line. It looks like, yep, we are a go. So Trembling, Swan, and Shabadoo with the top 3. And as we're going to try to go and from now that the race over, try to get some, at least maybe 2 or 3 drivers from the race tonight and gotta get their take on how things went. So let's switch this over back to our broadcast view here. Let's see whose drivers have joined on our racer view. And it looks like we do have Joe Shabadoo. Actually, I want to bring him in and find out exactly what happened there on that turn. He was still able to bring it home for that 3rd spot. Let's move him over here to our broadcast tower and get his comment. So give me a second here, guys, while I pull him over.
Mr. Shabadoo.
Here we go. Mr. Shabadoo, can you hear us? We are at the tower. Does he have his mic on? I'm not sure if he does.
He may be a little dazed and confused. Just got beamed up through the SRA Discord.
Oh, and also maybe his AMR was quite a bit.
Yeah, hello.
Up. Oh, there he goes. Well,
hey, here I am. Sorry, I had to put my microphone on. Just wasn't expecting this.
Well, we just wanted to bring you in for a quick interview here because, well, first of all, congrats on that P3. I know he finished P3, but could have been a little bit higher, but just kind of wanted to get a little bit, talk to us a little bit how that went. What happened there? I saw an incident. We saw an incident towards the end of the race.
Yeah, a couple of laps before the end. Forget which turn, maybe turn 4, whatever that long left-hander is. Somebody spun out, I suppose, in the middle of that, and with my monitor set up, I didn't see him until it was way too late. So they were parked right in the middle of the road, and I hit him at a fairly high rate of speed. So got some damage there, and I think I probably could have held on to second without that damage, but then again, maybe not. So happy to take 3rd place. Qualified, I think 4th, so 4th to 3rd. Certainly can't complain there.
Nice. Well, still, good job. I mean, like I said, you were running pretty quickly up front until we saw that instant job. We were thinking, you don't need to pit to repair this. If you can take this car around the track the way it is, considering all the delta you have from other positions, like just bring it home. So,
yeah, I figured with that little time left in the race, it's not worth pitting for the damage. So I suppose that's, I kind of wish I maybe would have pitted a little bit later. Then I could have, maybe fixed some of the damage on that pit. But either way, I think I probably would have come in 3rd, either way. So I suppose next time just pay attention to those yellow flags a little better.
Well, Josh, you have anything?
Constant learning process, man.
Awesome. Well, still congrats, man. I mean, obviously still a podium for you. Should be jumping up on the standings quite a bit, which is nice. Again, this is just round 3. So hope to see
I'm gonna have a celebratory beverage. This is my best finish ever in SRA. So congrats to me.
Well, absolutely.
Congrats
you shall have
you,
that.
Bro.
Congrats, man. Awesome stuff. And hope to see you next week at Imola. Remember, you will be wet, so hopefully you can join us for that. But congratulations, man.
Yeah, I'll be there. Thanks a lot.
You got it, man. Send you back to the review channel. All right, Josh, who else do you see?
I have Mr. Trembling in the cooldown room.
Sweet. Let's bring him. Let's bring in the alien himself on D5 here. Let's bring him in.
Alrighty.
Let's see. There we go.
Mr. Dawson.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad, sir. P1. Flag to flag. What a race.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a nerve-wracking race. I definitely was trying my best to get through traffic the best I could, and I mean, honestly, that's my first win, so pretty stoked about it.
Well, man,
What an
good job,
awesome
man.
track to do it at too.
Good job. I mean, me and Josh were talking on the race. When you're like in a league on your own, by the end of the race, we're saying like maybe he's already finished the race at home, relaxing, and everybody else still on the track. I mean, you
Yeah,
got a huge
yeah,
gap from everybody. You got a
yeah.
pretty
I
good.
was I was bringing out getting the shoey ready,
There it is. There it is.
but no, I definitely would have to win the whole thing, which I don't see happening, as I'm pretty sure I'll be missing at least one more round, and last round was not good for me, so that'll already be on my tally. So, but we're gonna truck away and see where we go.
Hey brother, no shame if you want to do a shoey after a win. You would not be the first one in SRA to do it. You'd be about the sixth. So
Hey, if it's your first win you mentioned, still, I mean, obviously, I'd be stoked. I'll be probably getting my shoe out and popping
having one
mine,
with you.
taking care of it. Why not? I mean, still, man. I mean, killer pace, absolutely. I mean, on that, you put that Aston Martin like way like faster than everybody. I know Beverly was a little bit closer
Yeah,
to you towards the end. Unfortunately, it was a mistake and he ended up dropping way down, which
yeah, he was trying to keep up with me, it seemed like, and he was about a half second behind me pretty much the entire first, I don't know, 5 or 10 laps, and just must have been in that last sector. And I was like, oh, where the heck did he go? Because I figured that's who I'd be battling with all race. But and then it looked like,
oh, and what happened to him?
I do not know.
He got kicked off on our scene. He just got cut off in the middle of everything, and he just disappeared. And that was
What?
in the middle of his stuck. So what happened there? Where did he go to?
I
Must be,
do not know.
and he was on the race review 3 earlier, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for him. I don't see him.
I don't see him either. Oh, he's all the way in race 3 chat. That's interesting. Let's bring him back here really quick.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Dawson,
No
we had
idea what happened there.
a little technical difficulty. All of a sudden, he just got kicked off our room. I don't know how'd that go, but
that was
sorry
that was
about that.
wild. Oh, you're good. But yeah, and then looked at the timetables, and for fastest lap, I was off by 100th on Beverly. So
Ah,
Beverly ended up taking it. So didn't get the triple crown, but we're still happy either way.
well, I mean, regardless, still a hell of a race and killer pace and good job, man. Just want to bring you and get your side, and I don't want to take too much of your time. We'll send you back to your race review channel.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, and appreciate you guys doing the stream.
Yeah, we'll be
Hey, thanks
uploaded
for
later
putting on
tonight.
a great show.
Alrighty.
All right, man. Take it easy.
You-
And all right, do we have anybody else that we wanted to bring down here for our last interview? I know I was going to talk to Steven Sarver. He had the pretty good on that top 10, but I don't see him.
And I see Mr. Swan. Let me
Oh, there
see
he
if I
is.
can get him into the cooldown room.
There we go. Let's bring him over to our commentators chat here. And where'd he go? Mr. Swan, can you hear us? You are on the broadcast tower.
He has removed himself from the channel.
He's like, what happened here? Okay, I guess we didn't get a. I think he's just disconnected as far as chat goes. But I don't.
Maybe.
No, he's back on.
I think that may be I'm not interested in an interview, or I have no idea what's going on right now.
It's all right. Well, I mean, we do get a little bit of the two guys, so still pretty good. I mean, it was a pretty good overall killer race. I mean, obviously, we had, geez, and I can't even. I mean, top 3. And again, you better pronounce his name than I do. With that win, and I don't see him. Why don't I see him on my list of scores here on my side? So give me a sec. I'm having some weird technical difficulties, and the entire chat of mine just disappeared. It's all blank, and I'm looking at race review 3.
Interesting.
Oh, so maybe I'm the one that kicked him off earlier, and then this happened. But anyways, good race, everybody. Before we close out the stream, I hope you enjoy once you watch this later. We do want to thank our sponsors. I mean, we have quite a few folks that contribute to SRA to keep the way it is, and we have a huge community. And I just wanted to bring up our sponsors list, title sponsors, just to thank everybody for their support. So let's bring this over here, and I will read the names of title sponsors and sponsors who currently help us here at SRA. Let's start with title sponsors. We have Al Latufo, Dan Rebel, Dominic Duran, Evan Kim, Fazli Majid, Gordon Beverly, who was on the race tonight, Harvey Condola, Jacob Wolfman, and Mr. Josh Damiani himself in our stream here. Ken Miller, Kyle McGinnis, Len Shark, Mark Retchen, Matt Morrison, Michael Megenheimer on the race as well. Milo Green, Paulie Hartman, Ramon Lorenzo, Richard Schultz, Robbie Tody, Stephanie Fisher, Thomas Greer, Tony Spaga, and Zach Sky for our title sponsors. Thank you so much. And not to also, we were going to be talking about our sponsors, title sponsors and sponsors, but let's start with that list. Adam Santana, Alex Skrochik, Anthony Rower, Bailey Kish, Ben Roberts, Connor Farrell, Daniel Gutierrez, Darren Robichaud. I believe that might be the way to pronounce it. I apologize if I do get that incorrect. We have Dewal Banderi, Dominic Duran as well, A.M. Byron on the race tonight, Ethan Marvin, Evan Kim, Gitish Katovkar as well tonight on the race, Jack Poliak, Justin Rowley, Kevin Anderson, Kowadromo, Mark Retchen, Matt Morrison. And to finalize the list, we have Michael Jeffries, Michael Megenheimer as well on tonight's race, Milo Green, Nate Bright, Nate Specht, Nick Sen, Philip Menzies, Pravin Fonseca, Roman Lorenzo, Richard Schultz, Robbie Tody, Ron Flo, Selena Boonstra, Stephanie Fisher, Stephen Smalley, Thomas Greer, Tony Spaggett, Travis Robinson, and Zach Sky. So all you guys, appreciate you guys helping with the SRA community. And let's not forget also our two business sponsors, Retro Saga and DocuMice. And I think let's move this back here. And I want to see if normally I talk to the admins. Last week we were able to pull up the updating provisional standings after the race ended. Let's take a look and see if that has been updated on our end. So we'll pull up the drivers page. And excuse me, face one here. And it looks like not yet, as we do have to get a couple of drivers probably no longer on our list since they have moved divisions. So we'll have that update for you on the next stream. But again, congratulations to the winners. I'll move back to our intermission. Here we go. And I think anything else other than that, I think we are good to go. Josh, you have anything else you wanted to add for the stream?
Not really. Just another week of solid racing from flag to flag and proof why these bottom divisions are showing the top divisions what they need to be doing.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe a little bit less self-inflicted wounds, but I mean, hey, like we've said a few times this race, it's Brands Hatch. That's what it's going to do to you.
And in the end, if you had some fun tonight racing others on the track, then consider that a success. But other than that, I think that should be it. And I will be closing out the stream. I will wish everybody a good night or good morning if you watch this in the morning. And we'll catch you guys next time. And take care.
See ya.